1 second, folks. 1 second. Good morning, folks. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we're going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do, the usual rant about real life stuff and then the disclaimers. So as you all know, before Christmas, I got a nice little check. So I used it in order to pay off the loan off of my 401k so I can take more money out. That payment went through about around 1 a.m. this morning. But because Christmas, it's not yet registered on my 401k, even though it has left my bank account. Now, I'm about 3 days away before rent is due. Granted, I've already paid on some of it beforehand, as is my usual custom. But I'm a little bit perturbed, a little annoyed, because I need to take out the other loan so that I can start getting everything put on automatic payments. And, start finally breaking even. So if you could send me all the positive vibes in my general direction and will along with me so that I can be able to take out the loan again on my 401k so I can get everything back to normal. Mucho appreciated, folks. Mucho appreciated. All right. Folks, a miracle this morning. I managed to not look at my Twitter feed before I went ahead and started doing these videos. Let's hope that holds because, yeah. Okay? I do want to clarify a little bit on the rant I went on last night on Open Chat. In regards to the people still trudging through the JD versus AH case, on one hand, I get it. I'm not trying to be mean. It was an extremely, extremely important case for all of us neurodiverse folks. It does my heart good to see at least fucking one of us win. Like, you don't even know, folks, the impact that has had on my community. You don't begin to understand yet. That being said, though, why are we still talking about it? Now, I don't mean as talking in regards to its importance, how it might impact other cases. There's conversations that need to be had, particularly when it comes to people with disabilities being targeted by people like AH. That's just for starters, let alone the fact that, oh my gosh, male survivors of DV exist. My point is, why is AH still on my timeline? Why? As of right now, all we have are rumors in regards to her so-called book. Will she write it? Probably. Will I comment then? Yes. But for the love of God, can I have a break? I need a break, for the love of God. It's been 6 years. There are other topics and conversations that also need to be had. I'm just saying. Kitty's here to calm mommy down. All right. Moving on, in the description box, folks, you're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It is written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's quote-unquote behavioral modification program. And speaking of conversations that really need to be had, folks, the JRC, in fact, don't want you to read this article so much that they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they do not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic has refused, so Daryl, read that article and share on all your social media, folks. We also have I can't brain today. We also have linked in there NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, and a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding, folks, in case the JRC actually has the balls to see through with their threat. We got the pertinent links to the Agape boarding school situation as well. Agape boarding school is a Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in so-called troubled male teens that has and pending over 21 civil lawsuits, claims, and allegations leveled against it, all so far which have been substantiated by the hard evidence of the Missouri Department of Social Services. These allegations include sexual assault, sodomy, rape, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking and starvation, and that's just for starters. You have one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another, a doctor who still lives on the premises with full access to the boys, up on multiple claims substantiated by the Missouri Department of Social Services, again, of sodomy, rape, and sexual assault of the boys there. You got an attorney general too busy at sucking at life with his frivolous lawsuits against Biden and his constant attack on the drag queen community for existing. Can we just say that just for simply existing? I got a big problem with this, folks. When we've got a school with kids with hard evidence that they are being sexually assaulted, raped, sodomized, and beaten on the semi-regular. Evidence. Proven. You literally got a sexual predator who lives on the premises with access to the kids. You got dudes being arrested by the FBI. But oh no, the drag queens are the problem because they read it story time. No, that's grooming because they're reading a freaking fairy tale. Are you kidding me? So that's our jerk ass of an attorney general who can't seem to figure out that, guess what? There is no agenda. They're just trying to survive like the fucking rest of us. They would like not to be harassed. They'd like to not be targeted for doing nothing wrong. Anyways, you can tell I'm a little fired up about that. We can't have logic out in this state, can we? We got a governor who is hyped up on a power trip. So please, folks, read all those articles. Share on all your social media. Don't forget to share and sign the change.org Shut Agape Boarding School Down petition. We got the pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign as well, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, Jennifer Masumba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses, a clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002, the templates, and the ever-present self-explanatory change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. When we discuss the JRC, folks, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips or surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. Excuse me. If you got young children present, please use your headphones, all right? Now, this channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity and we discuss dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger, please, parental supervision. All right, should go without saying. All right, folks, trigger warning. We are about to descend into the mad ravings of a lunatic mind known as Dr. Matthew Israel. You're going to be hearing gaslighting, lies, ableism, pseudoscience, victim blaming. The list goes on. So just be prepared for a whole truckload of hateful stupidity, okay? Oh, and don't forget illogical nonsense. All right. Moving on. 3, emergency takedowns. Remember, he likes to use this a lot, but what he doesn't allude to is to the fact that they actually do this at his school too. Matter of fact, not only do they emergency takedowns take place in his school, They also do their bizarre behavioral rehearsal lessons where they will deliberately try to trigger a behavior if a kid's not having a behavior enough, according to them, in order that they can then correct it with a shock. Yeah. If it sounds batshit insane, that's because it is. But let's move on. These involve 2 to 7 staff members grabbing the individual and forcing him or her to the floor, holding him or her there until the struggling stops. Bruises, sprains, rug burns, etc. are typical side effects. If takedown and the subsequent manual restraint that typically follows it are not done carefully, serious injuries or even death can result. Well, at least you're honest about fucking something. I mean, after all, you would know from experience, wouldn't you, doctor? Yes, let me allude to one of the cases that got his ass kicked out of California with his psycho ass, okay? In particular, the death that him and his fucking school caused by restraining a person face down with a helmet on with leather belts, where he then subsequently died due to struggle from asphyxiation. So I guess if anybody would know that, doctor, it would be you, wouldn't it? Oh, but he's not going to tell you that, though. In fact, you're going to have to go to Autistic Hoya's massive archive to read the report. And that's not all California found. Let's talk about the JRC's emergency takedowns and restraint, shall we? Let's go back a few years, back to the 70s, when his ass got kicked out of California, where they found kids tied to trees outside for hours on end, where they were allowed to soil themselves, and nobody would do anything to help them. Let's talk about the fact that kids were found with scabs, bruises, and horrific injuries to their feet, to their asses, to their abdomens, and all over the place. Yeah. And you can find out all the information on that California case that got him banned for the state for life in Autistic Hoya's massive archive, folks. I've done the videos. So, yeah, you can either go on there or kind of sort through the hundreds upon hundreds of videos I've already done on this case. Eventually, I'm going to organize it as soon as I can figure out how. But moving on. Although takedowns are often called emergency procedures, if they are used consistently each time the individual is, for example, aggressive, they function as aversives. This type of aversive is used in positive behavioral support programs and is not objected to by anti-aversive advocates. No, it's not, you dumb fuck. A takedown is not an aversive. Let me explain to you why. A takedown is something that can happen to anyone, including people who are hyped up on all kinds of levels of PCP. It is not done as a result due to the animal behavior. No. Takedowns are used in a particular emergency situation. And let me clarify that for you, since Dr. Matthew Israel won't. I'm going to use an example, something that happened back when my mom used to work. Well, they call it On the Hill. It's the old MRC out in Mount Vernon up on the hill there. It's now a veterans hospital, but back in the day, when she was working more in some of the wards that were a part of that hospital, there was a gentleman who flipped out, lost his shit, okay? This individual was screaming and managed to pick up an old, and we're talking 80s heavy-ass TV, folks, and lodged it out his window. My mother basically had to turn herself into a linebacker and managed to tackle this man to the ground and restrain him. Now, Dr. Matthew Israelite, well, see, that's the behavior I'm talking about. That's what you don't understand. No, doctor. No. First off, we all know the fact that you use your bizarre behavioral lessons to trigger a behavior, and then when they have it and they freak the fuck out, which is understandable when you have staff actually acting like they're going to fucking attack them, that's when you do your takedowns. You trigger that behavior that that man just simply had. Allow me to say that for those in the back. The JRC will deliberately trigger the fight or fight response so that they can then use their torture device or physical restraint as a means to punish. Takedowns are not meant to be punishments. Takedowns are not deliberately used to punish the patient for a behavior. Okay? Adversives, for as much as he tries to dance around it, are punishments. Okay? Takedowns are not punishments. Takedowns are done for the safety of the patients and the staff. The adversives that he administers are used for any and all given reasons that they decide on that particular day. They're given vague ass paper thin justifications for it. Takedowns and adversives are not the same goddamn thing. And by the way, for those who want to sit there and say, but you don't object to it for anti-adversive advocates, first of all, it's not an adversive. That is a lie, doctor. That is an absolute lie. Adversives, folks, are when you deprive people of food, when you deprive them of sleep, when you shock them for whatever vague-ass reason or excuse you decide to pull out of your ass that day. It is when you deprive a kid who is screaming in pain and trying to get someone's attention, and you pay them no mind because you're going to ignore them until they learn better neurotypical behavior and not give a shit enough to learn why they're screaming. Those are adversives. Okay? Seclusion rooms, adversives. Improper restraint does kill every single year. And if you think Dr. Matthew isn't guilty, I've got hours of footage for you to take a look at. Okay? Let's hit this with a little bit of reality here. Andre McCollins did not in any way, unlike that man in the hospital back in the 80s, did not in any fucking way provoke or threaten anyone. Anyone. Him leaving his coat on did not harm anyone. He was tortured for it. That is an adversive. When a takedown happens, it is not done to punish the patient. Adversives are used to punish the patient. It's very simple logic. Very, very simple logic. So let's go ahead and close out this video to kind of give you a little bit more understanding here. See, Dr. Matthew Israel wants you to believe that they don't really do emergency takedowns at JRC. They want you to believe that that's done in other places and in fact are actually adversives and that we don't oppose them. It's not like we don't have an entire movement called, literally calls for the complete removal of restraint. Because we do. Okay? We do. Particularly since he is right here, it kills kids every fucking year. That being said, though, in situations where takedowns are needing to happen, it is not taken on the staff in order to do so, in order to punish the patient for having a behavior. It is done for the safety of the patient, staff, and the others there. Now, Dr. Matthew Israel will tell you exactly that's what we have to do at our school. We have to shock them. We have to starve them. We have to have these rehearsal lessons, or they're going to act like that man in the hospital. It's a lie, folks. It's an absolute bullshit lie. The truth is, if you go to the description box and you pull up Jennifer Masumba's behavioral sheet, you will find out they will fucking shock you for stopping work for more than 3 seconds. Okay? These things are not the same. No matter what Dr. Matthew Israel tries to tell you. In fact, according to his logic, when a cop takes down a criminal to stop them from moving forward, you say, well, that's a punishment. No, it's not. Jail is the punishment. The takedown is to protect the perp and the people around them. There's a major difference here. He's playing fast and loose with the truth. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and close out, and I'll move on to the next video. We don't get very many reviews on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So folks, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time this morning. And as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. All right, guys. See you in a few minutes.